Welcome to another village profile. Today we continue in the A's for the villages of Alaska. Today we'll be doing Alatna and Alcan. Alatna and Alcan. And both of these villages are pretty small, but they're both unique in their own way. Alatna is located on the Alatna River. It is 190 miles northwest of Fairbanks, so it's an interior village. 57 miles upriver of the Hughes. The village of Alatna is within the municipal boundaries of the city of Allakaket. And this is sort of a unique thing about Alatna, is that the village next to Allakaket, there's like a weird relationship between the two. They're technically separate villages. They're across a river from each other, but it seems like they're kind of like one village. This site at Alatna historically has been a meeting place of several native groups, including the Koyukon Athabaskans, people from Kobuk, Selawik, and Nunavut Eskimos would gather here for trade. These people would move from place to place as the seasons changed and as their wild fishing game moved around. And these various bands finally established a joint settlement after 1851. So this is a traditional trading center for Athabaskans and Eskimos. So that's kind of cool to see that they had a place to meet and trade with each other. Today, the population of Alatna is about 35, but if you include its neighboring village of Allakaket, it's around 150. So these two villages are kind of like one, but they have technically two separate communities that have a river in between them. Historically, the first mission was called St. John's in the Wilderness Episcopal Mission. It was the first mission on the Koyukon River, and it was established in 1906. Now, the building of this mission is actually located in Allakaket on the east side of the river there. And I did find an old photograph of the original mission building. It is an old log cabin built in 1906. And as I cannot tell if there's still any activity in that building right now, but another report that I have shows that there is no current churches in either Alatna or Allakaket. Both Alatna and Allakaket are both basically completely native communities. One of the figures I saw was 94% native, so there's just a few non-native people there. Their first post office was opened in 1925, and then in 1938, the name of the community was changed to Allakaket, although I don't see what the name of it was before that. But it does say it was an old name for the mission there. The name Alatna was assumed by the small Eskimo community across the river. The first public school was established in 1957. In 1964, there was a flood that inundated 85% of the community. A clinic and the airport were built in 1978, and then in 1979, a new school and community roads were constructed. Now, a very notable event in the history of Alatna is the 1994 flooding. According to these records, heavy rains during August 15 through 18 and August 23rd through 27th of 1994 in northwest and interior Alaska caused severe flooding in several large basins. Now, if you include huge amounts of rain and ice dams, so the ice coming down the Koyukon River will get jammed up somewhere and the water behind it brings up flooding. In the village of Alatna, the floods rose 8 to 10 feet and destroyed almost all of the buildings in the community. This says almost 100 homes received damage from the flood and 38 were completely destroyed. It says many homes floated off their foundations in Allakaket and Alatna. Some of these homes survived the relocation intact, and some have been releveled and reoccupied. In all, it says the damage was about $70 million and about 300 people were misplaced. The Army National Guard helicopters had to be called, and a national disaster was declared by President Clinton on September 13, using the Army National Guard helicopters to evacuate the villages. Now, since then, the village of Alatna has been moved about a half mile to the west of its old location. And so now there's kind of old Alatna and new Alatna in the new location a little further away from the river. Other floods historically that have been reported were one flood in the early 1950s, another one during 1966, and there was another one in 1989. But of course, none of them compared to the 1994 flood, which totally wiped out the village. So now the village, if you look on a map, you can see it's about half a mile off of the Koyukon River, and they have that distance, so they sit on higher ground. Hopefully, they won't have another flood like that to take out the village. According to this, the Alatna contains 12 occupied homes, and none of them have any plumbing. The residents have to haul water and use honey buckets or outhouses for their water and their waste. However, it says major improvements are underway. So I don't know how updated this information is. That would be neat to know. Electricity is provided by the Alaska Power and Telephone Company. The local economy is seasonal, and it is subsistence-based. Salmon, whitefish, moose, bear, and small game and berries provide most food sources for the residents. These food sources are very important because Alatna or Allakaket has a road link. It's an off-road village. People can get there with winter trails and snow machines, but there's no barge service because the water in the Koyukon River in that area is too shallow. Now, a lot of the villages throughout Alaska can bring in large loads like excavators and stuff through a barge, but that's not available in Alatna or Allakaket because the river is too shallow. And so the state has constructed a 3,500-foot lighted runway in Allakaket, and that is where most of their supplies come in, or also through winter trails with snow machines in the wintertime. Today, the runway is 4,000 foot long. It consists of good gravel, 0523, and it's Papa Foxtrot Alpha Lima. It does have approaches. Has an RNAV approaches for runway 05 and 23. So that's good for IFR conditions. The elevation is 441 feet. It's just on the east side of the Koyukon River in the village of Allakaket. And of course, that can supply Alatna also. According to my sources, there is a missionary family that lives there in Alatna/Allakaket. They've been there for about 10 years, and they are currently trying to build a community/youth center to benefit that village. All right, let's talk about Alcan, Alaska. Alcan is a very unique village, if I can even call it that. I don't know if I can call it village because it's simply a federally created village for border agents who are monitoring the Alaskan-Canadian border as it's on the Alaska-Canadian Highway in eastern Alaska on the Alaska-Yukon province border. It's a community of about 35 border agents who live there and monitor that border stop. So it is a port of entry for Alaska. This is considered a non-native village, completely fabricated by the federal government. There are no businesses here. It is purely a small housing community for border agents. So I don't know if there's that much else to say about Alcan, Alaska, since it's sort of a fabricated village, although there are people who live there. But there is an interesting plaque there in Alcan. It says, this unfortified boundary line between the Dominion of Canada and the United States of America should quicken the remembrance of those more than a century-old friendship between these countries, a lesson of peace to all nations. Erected May 31st, 1982. So that was pretty cool. The peace that we enjoy with Canada, to make a little monument about that. Also in Alcan, Alaska is this board where, when you travel a lot, you can pick up those stickers that people stick on the back of their laptop computers or on your backpack or something or on your car. There is a board full of these stickers. So it's kind of cool to look at all of the stickers that travelers have stuck on this board. So that's kind of a neat little monument to all the people who have passed through Alcan, Alaska. Okay, so that's it for these two villages of Alatna and Alcan. But Alatna was really kind of two. Alcan, or Alatna and Allakaket are kind of together. So we'll probably skip over that one when we get there. But next week, we're going to be doing Allakaket, which is located in southwestern Alaska, and Alexander Creek. And Alexander Creek is a community which I have spent some time in, so I'm looking forward to covering that one. So until then, thank you guys for tuning in. That was it for today's Village Profiles on Tell Your Story, Alaska.